Come closer. The shadows have missed you, and tonight they have a new story to tell. Welcome to Scary Stories After Dark. Rain hammers the roof like fists. Inside, a woman runs. Bare feet slap against black and white tiles slick with blood. Her breath snags. Each inhale feels like glass. A door ahead. Open, yellow light spilling out. She lunges. Slam. She is back at the staircase. The house groans, timbers flexing like ribs. Candles extinguish one by one. Shadows crawl up the wallpaper and peel it back, revealing faces underneath, screaming, pressed like insects under glass. She staggers into a hall of mirrors. Her reflection stares back in dozens of fragments, each one screaming a different pitch, a discordant choir of her own voice. "Not again," she whispers. Behind her, a click of claws on wood, slow, deliberate. She doesn't turn. She runs. The front door now, wide open, rain slanting in, she bursts through. The world outside folds like paper. She's back in the hall. Her hands leave bloody prints on the walls as she claws at them. Paint flakes off, the plaster underneath pulses, warm and damp, a heartbeat. The air tastes like iron. Something cold grips her ankle, a yank. She's dragged across the tiles, fingernails snapping as she clutches at the rug. Her scream splits into three voices. The last candle flares bright white. A tall silhouette stands in the light. Its head tilts. Its smile does not. Her body arcs up, off the floor, back bending. A snap. The candle goes out. Silence. Then, the sound of a door creaking open somewhere above. The loop begins again. The rain finally gave up halfway through the drive, leaving the world slick and gray. Elowen Price kept one hand on the wheel and the other on the car's useless heater knob, coaxing a hint of warmth out of the vents. The countryside unspooled around them, stone fences, black trees, a mist that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. "Remind me," Willow said from the back seat, "how many ghost hunters have not died here?" Braxton laughed. "Define here. If you mean England, maybe 6. Sutton leaned forward between the seats, phone raised. "Oh look, 3 bars of service. That's how you know the demon's real. It's already draining my battery." Their laughter was small but honest. Elowen let it live for a moment before answering. "No one's died here in recent history. We're not ghost hunters, we're researchers." "Grief researchers," Willow murmured, rolling her window down an inch. The fog slithered in like breath. "Same thing, really." Elowen smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. She told herself that the trip, her controlled field exercise, was about healing, about confronting fear through exposure. But the truth sat heavy under her ribs. The manor had called to her. Every dream for the past month had ended at its gates. The GPS croaked through static. "You have arrived at your destination." The car rolled to a stop. Greymarrow Manor. Locals called it Shudder House. Waited on the hill, its windows black and uneven like teeth. Vines crawled up the stonework, thick as veins. The fog bled across the lawn and lapped at the tires. "Wow," Sutton said softly. "TripAdvisor really undersold this place." Braxton grabbed his duffel. "Looks like every room comes with its own funeral." Elowen cut the engine. The silence that followed felt alive, humming at the edge of hearing. "All right," she said. "Let's get inside before we drown in sarcasm." The front doors creaked open under her touch. The smell hit first, cold wood, copper, and something faintly sweet, like lilies left too long in water. Inside, the air was still. A grandfather clock near the staircase stood frozen at 3:01. Sutton whistled low. Cozy. Willow flicked the chandelier switch. The bulbs buzzed, then died. Haunted by an unpaid electric bill. Elowen almost laughed, but the sound caught when the door shut behind them with a solid, deliberate click. No draft, no wind. Just that single thud echoing down the hall like a heartbeat. Elowen tried to ignore how the air thickened once they crossed the threshold. It had that old house smell, dust, oil, forgotten dinners, but there was something else under it, like rain trapped behind the walls. They lugged their bags into the grand hall. The room opened upward 3 stories, crowned by a glass dome veined with spider cracks. A single bulb swayed overhead, its light coughing every few seconds. Sutton dumped his tripod case on the marble floor. "Rule 1, he said, deadpan. If a ghost eats my GoPro, I'm suing." Braxton cracked a grin. "You'll have to haunt the court yourself." Elowen's laugh was thin, distracted. She was watching the dust float in the light, too slow, as if the air had thick water in it. "Let's get set up. The sooner the equipment's running, the sooner we can document baseline conditions." They moved through the manor, their voices small against the walls. Each doorway opened into another room of shadows and damp velvet. Portraits watched from cracked gilt frames, the eyes dull as old coins. The library. They picked it as the common room. Books sagged on their shelves like tired soldiers. A fire had long ago died in the hearth. The smell of cold ash clung to everything. Willow ran her fingers along a spine thick with dust. "These aren't even labeled. Someone should have Dewey Decimaled this nightmare years ago." "Maybe they tried," Braxton said. "Maybe the books filed them." Elowen smiled despite herself. The humor kept them human. That mattered. She unrolled her notepad, writing the date, the temperature, her pulse. Control, order, structure. That was how you beat grief. Except her pulse reading looked wrong, too high. She tried again. The pen stuttered. 3:01 a.m. blinked on her watch before resetting to the correct time. By 9, the fog had crawled right up to the windows. They set up their sleeping quarters. Willow upstairs in the blue room, Sutton across the hall, Braxton on the couch in the library. Elowen chose the study. She said she wanted to monitor the recordings. When the generator kicked off for the night, silence filled every crack of the house. Somewhere, a door clicked shut. Elowen leaned over the laptop, reviewing the first hour of footage. Static, a hum. Then, something behind her on screen. A shape, pale, standing in the doorway. She turned. Empty. The screen flickered, then froze. The timestamp, 3:01 a.m. Her reflection in the monitor breathed out a plume of mist, though the room wasn't cold. Upstairs, Sutton stirred. A whisper slid through the vents. "Not again." He sat up fast, heart pounding. Willow's door creaked open across the hall. "Did you just say something?" He swallowed. "No." They both turned toward the staircase. The sound of breathing drifted from below, slow, enormous, not human. Elowen felt it first. The floorboards shifting under her bare feet, rising and falling with each invisible inhale. The manor was breathing, sinking to her heartbeat, learning it. The lights blinked once, twice. Then the grandfather clock in the hall struck once, though its hands had never moved. Rain returned after midnight. It drummed against the windows in a rhythm too steady, too measured, as if the storm were counting for them. Elowen drifted between the cameras in the study, checking batteries, cataloging nothing but silence. Yet every playback carried the same faint sound, breathing, slow and ragged, coming from somewhere inside the mic. She shut the laptop, listened. Under the rain was a smaller sound, footsteps. Light, uneven, circling the library below. "Braxton," she called down. No answer. She crossed the hall, her flashlight slicing through the dark. The beam caught wallpaper damp with condensation. She thought she saw something behind it, movement in the seams, but the pattern only shimmered like skin when she touched it. Warm. Braxton wasn't on the couch anymore. His blanket lay twisted on the floor like he'd stepped out of it mid-dream. "Maybe bathroom," she whispered, though she didn't believe it. Something creaked overhead, 2 floors up. The blue room. Elowen climbed the stairs, pulse keeping time with the house. The chandelier swayed, though the air was still. Willow? The door stood half open. The lamp was on, casting thin yellow light across the bed. The sheets were soaked, not water, darker. Elowen's voice came out smaller than she meant. "Willow?" A giggle answered from the wardrobe, high, breathless, not Willow's. The door of the wardrobe eased open by itself. A hand slipped out, small, gray, veins like ink lines. It touched the floor and melted into shadow. Elowen stumbled back, the lamp buzzed and died. Sutton's door burst open. He stood there, white-faced, holding his phone out like a weapon. There's someone in my room. Looks like Braxton, but it's not him. He's smiling weird." Elowen grabbed his arm. "Where's Willow?" He shook his head. "In your library, I think. Or she was." A sound cut through the hall. A laugh, then the screech of a chair dragging. They bolted down the stairs together. Willow stood by the fireplace, staring into it. Her hair clung to her cheeks, soaked through though it hadn't rained inside. Elowen reached her. "What happened?" Willow blinked, slow, dazed. It was Braxton. He said I could follow him through the wall. Elowen turned sharply. "Through what?" Willow pointed at the bookcase. A gap had opened between 2 shelves, narrow, dark, breathing warm air. Elowen shone her light in. The beam died halfway in, like it hit smoke. Something moved beyond it. Tall, wrong-shaped, wearing Braxton's voice. "Not again," Willow screamed. Books flew from the shelves as if slapped by invisible hands. Paper snowed through the air. Sutton pulled Willow back. Elowen lunged for the recorder on the table. The screen blinked alive for a single second. Braxton's face, blood in his teeth, whispering, "It knows us now." Then the house exhaled. Hard. Every door in Shudder Manor slammed shut at once. Willow hated the quiet more than the screams. Screams meant someone was still alive. Quiet meant the house was listening. Her shoes left wet prints on the marble as she followed Elowen down the corridor. The air was heavy, swamp-warm, and smelled faintly of copper and rain. Sutton trailed behind, muttering to himself, camera clutched like a rosary. They'd been searching for Braxton for an hour, or maybe 5 minutes. The house warped time. Every hallway folded back into another version of itself. The same portraits, the same crooked table with the same overturned glass, the same flickering sconce that never died out completely. Willow pressed a hand to the wall to steady herself. The wallpaper was damp and pulsing beneath her palm, like breathing. "Jesus," she whispered. "This place needs a dehumidifier and an exorcist." Sutton forced a laugh. Maybe it's just old plumbing. The walls sighed. They all froze. Elowen raised her flashlight, jaw tight. "Stay behind me." The light caught movement, a ripple, like something sliding under the surface of the wall. The wallpaper blistered outward, then flattened again. Willow's breath hitched. "It's inside it." A sharp pop cracked the silence. A portrait frame shot off its nail and crashed to the floor. Inside the empty frame, the plaster was caved inward, the imprint of a face. Sutton's whisper broke the air. "That's Braxton's." Elowen spun. "Don't say it." The house answered anyway. A low moan rolled through the hallway, distant but coming closer. It rose and fell like a tide, deep enough to vibrate in their teeth. Every door handle around them began to rattle. Willow clamped her hands over her ears. "Make it stop." Elowen grabbed her arm, half pulling her toward the stairs. "Basement, now." They ran. The moan followed, through the vents, through the floorboards, through their bones. It was already open. No one remembered opening it. Sutton aimed his camera down the stairwell. The beam caught floating dust. No, not dust. Ash. Elowen went first, the steps groaning under her boots. The smell grew stronger, damp earth and something rotten, metallic. Halfway down, Willow glanced back up and saw the wallpaper above the stairwell splitting open like a mouth. A face pressed through from the other side, pale, wet, grinning. It whispered in Braxton's voice, "Not again." Willow screamed. She fell the last steps, hit cold stone, and rolled. Her flashlight clattered away and landed facing the far wall. That was when she saw the writing, scratched into the stone with fingernails, hundreds of phrases overlapping, carved over each other in desperate layers. "We are still here. Don't let it in. Not again. It knows our names." Sutton stumbled down after her. "What the hell is this?" Elowen's answer came hollow. "Evidence." The house shuddered once, hard enough to shake dust from the ceiling. The candles in the hall above blew out, though there was no wind. Willow backed toward the wall, heart stuttering. "We shouldn't be here." The wall behind her pulsed. Something alive pressed against her back. Ribs, fingers, a face trying to push through. Sutton lunged forward to pull her free. "It's got her!" The wall peeled open in a wet, tearing sound, swallowed Willow up to the shoulder, then released her so violently she fell forward, gasping. Her arm was covered in thin handprints that weren't hers. Elowen knelt beside her, trembling. "We're done searching. We leave. Now." But the stairs were gone. Behind them was only another hallway, identical to the one they'd started in, stretching on forever, the wallpaper breathing slow and steady. Sutton had always used humor to keep the panic small. If you could laugh at the monster, it couldn't eat you. That trick had worked everywhere else, but not here. He'd fallen behind the others somewhere between the basement and the new hallway that shouldn't exist. The corridor stretched in both directions like a mirror folded into itself. No doors, just walls slick with moisture and a low electrical hum under the plaster. "Okay," he muttered, raising the camera. "Documenting a hallucination number 6, 7. The lens glowed faintly red as it powered on. The recording screen reflected his own face back at him. He zoomed in, zoomed out, laughed nervously. "Still cute," he told himself. The reflection blinked. He didn't. The image twitched again. A frame skip, then 2 Suttons, one fractionally slower than the other. "All right, editing bug, totally fine." He tapped the side of the camera. The second Sutton smiled wider, a few frames too long. "Don't tap me," it said. Sutton froze. "What?" The voice came from the camera speaker, fuzzy with static, but undeniably his. "Don't tap me." He pointed the lens away toward the wall. The wall pulsed. The screen still showed his face. He lowered the camera, nothing in front of him. Raised it again. The reflection stood closer now, shoulders lifted, grin too sharp. The real Sutton whispered, "Stop." The reflection whispered back, "Not again." A ripple ran through the hall, like the house exhaling. The lights dimmed to a reddish hum. The reflection began mouthing words out of sync. Behind it, another figure appeared. Elowen maybe, or something shaped like her, its eyes empty, its mouth open too wide. Sutton stumbled backward, hitting the wall. "Elowen! Willow!" The camera slipped from his hands. It didn't hit the floor, it hung mid-air, recording him from above, lens whirring like an insect. He heard footsteps, quick, unsteady. Willow's voice echoing down the hall. "Sutton, where are you?" He reached for her voice. The hall stretched, the sound folded away. Playback. The camera's screen flickered. On it, Sutton watched himself reach for something unseen, watched his own hand sink into the wall, skin rippling like water. He watched himself vanish up to the elbow, shoulder, throat. His last words on the audio track, a whisper drowned in static. "Tell her, it's still me." Then the camera dropped, lens cracked, recording still running. The last frame caught a shape crawling out of the wall where Sutton had been. Same clothes, same voice. Different smile. Upstairs, Elowen paused mid-stride. A chill licked her spine. She didn't know why, but she whispered anyway. "Not again." Elowen found Sutton at the top of the stairs. Or what looked like Sutton. He stood half-turned toward the wall, head tilted as though listening to something inside it. His clothes were damp, streaked with dust. His hands were folded politely in front of him, fingers twitching like they were waiting for a cue. "Where the hell were you?" Willow demanded. He smiled too slowly. "Nowhere." Elowen's stomach nodded. "Sutton, look at me." He turned. His eyes caught the chandelier light, flat, glossy, like the surface of a mirror. For one heartbeat, she saw herself reflected in them, smaller, trembling. Then he blinked and the shine was gone. They herded back to the library. The generator had come back to life on its own. Lights glowed in rooms they hadn't entered. The house felt awake, smug. Willow paced. "We have to leave. Now." This isn't exposure therapy. This is possession. Elowen forced calm. We can't leave until we know where Braxton is. Sutton's voice drifted from the fireplace. He's right here. Both women turned. Sutton was staring into the dark hearth. Inside, the soot shimmered faintly, shapes moving in the blackness like fish under ice. "Stop it," Willow snapped. "That's not funny." Sutton smiled again, teeth too even. He said, "It's warm down there." Elowen grabbed his wrist, cold, slick, wrong. "You need to sit down." The skin under her fingers pulsed once like something crawling beneath it. They heard the first crack at the same time, a brittle snap from the wall of mirrors lining the hall. Every reflection fractured. In each shard, their doubles moved a beat behind, mouths opening in silent laughter. Elowen whispered, "Don't look." Willow couldn't help it. She stared into one fragment and saw herself grinning back, wide and wild, raising a shard of glass like a knife. She jerked away, cutting her palm. Blood dotted the floor. Sutton tilted his head. "It likes blood." Elowen dragged Willow toward the door. The hallway stretched again, longer, darker. Behind them, mirrors began to hum, a deep vibration that shook dust from the ceiling. "Don't run," Sutton murmured. His voice was soft, distant. "It sees movement." They burst through the next doorway and stopped. The dining table was set for 4. Candles burned low, wax pooled around half-eaten plates. Steam rose from dishes that hadn't been there minutes ago. Roast meat, bread, glasses of wine trembling from unseen motion. And seated at the table, head bowed as if in prayer, was Braxton. Elowen's relief died as soon as he lifted his face. His eyes were gone. 2 black holes blinked wetly where they should have been. Willow screamed. Sutton, still smiling, walked to the table and sat down across from him. "We're all here now," he said, finally. Elowen pulled Willow back. "Don't touch anything." The chandelier above the table flickered once, twice. When the light steadied, there were 4 bodies seated at the table. One of them was her, perfectly still, eyes open, a faint smile frozen on its lips. Willow collapsed against the wall. "We're dead. We're actually dead." Elowen shook her head hard, denial raw in her throat. No, we're not. This house is lying." Sutton turned toward her, both of him, the one at the table and the one standing. They spoke together. Not again. Elowen couldn't feel her pulse anymore, only the slow, steady rhythm of the house beneath her feet, its heartbeat replacing hers. Every step she took down the corridor thudded in time with it. Thump, thump, thump. Willow followed close, whispering like she was afraid to breathe too loud. "They're not moving, Elowen. They're just sitting there." Elowen didn't look back at the dining room. "Keep walking." The corridor narrowed. Wallpaper brushed their shoulders on both sides, damp and soft. Shadows pulsed inside it, hands pressing out and sinking back. Every now and then, she heard her own voice calling from somewhere ahead, giving instructions she didn't remember saying. She reached a door and pushed it open. Same desk, same candle, same open notebook with the same half-written sentence. Baseline observation, subject displays signs of... Her handwriting trailed off into nothing. Willow leaned over her shoulder. "This is where we started." "No," Elowen said. The study was smaller. And she flipped the notebook. I never wrote this page. A faint smear of red marked the paper's edge, as if someone had dragged a bloody finger across it. Someone who writes exactly like me, she thought. The clock on the desk clicked over to 3:01. The minute hand twitched once and stopped. A low groan rolled through the walls. The floor under her feet flexed, lifting and sinking like the swell of lungs. Elowen pressed a palm to the wall. It pulsed back, slow and tender. Willow stepped away. I don't think it wants us to leave. Elowen's voice came out small. It doesn't want us at all. It just remembers us. The door they'd come through creaked open. Sutton's voice floated in, too calm, too even. You're late. He stood in the doorway, clothes clean now, hair dry. No dust, no blood. Behind him, Braxton and Willow, another Willow, walked past, laughing softly, setting up equipment. Elowen stared. What is this? Sutton smiled. The first night, don't you remember? The duplicates moved like a film playing half a second too slow. Her other self crossed the room, sat at the desk, wrote the same half-finished line. Baseline observation, subject displays, signs of... The pen rolled off the table, clattering onto the floor at her feet. Her own hand bent to pick it up before she could stop it. The room folded around her, lights flickering in long, slow blinks. Every flash showed a different version of them, screaming, burned, hollow-eyed, still. Willow backed against the wall. Elowen, what's happening? Elowen's whisper trembled. We've done this before, over and over. She touched her reflection in the window. The glass was cold. And then her reflection moved on its own, lips forming words she couldn't hear. She leaned closer. The reflection smiled, whispered them again, louder. You're already dead. The floor buckled. Papers flew like birds. The lamps burst, filling the room with smoke and shards of glass. Elowen and Willow fell together, coughing, blind. When the haze cleared, they were back in the grand hall. The clock struck once, 3:01. From every wall, hundreds of voices whispered in unison. Not again, not again, not again. Elowen clutched Willow's hand. We can break it. We have to. The walls laughed, a long, slow breath that smelled of lilies and decay. They ran until the hallway stopped pretending to be real. The wallpaper tore away, revealing stone and rot beneath. The ceiling arched downward, wooden beams bent like ribs closing over them. Elowen's flashlight cut a thin path through the dark. The front doors, she whispered. We get outside, that's all. Willow stumbled beside her, pale and shaking. What if there isn't an outside? Elowen didn't answer. If she spoke, she might believe it. They turned the last corner, and there it was, the foyer. The twin doors of Shudder Manor stood wide open, fog billowing in like breath. The sight nearly buckled Elowen's knees. Go, she said. Willow hesitated, then sprinted for the threshold. The moment she crossed, the air shuddered. Her body flickered, blurred, then disappeared like a candle flame blown out. No! Elowen lunged forward. The fog folded back, and Willow stood there again, facing inward, eyes glassy. Elowen? She asked softly. Why are you standing outside? Elowen froze. Willow, you're... Willow's head tilted. We're late for the experiment. Behind her, the house breathed in, The doors slammed shut. The shock knocked Elowen backward. She landed hard on the tile, palms slipping in something wet. It wasn't water. The walls were sweating blood. She dragged herself upright and looked around. Portraits lined the foyer now, hundreds of them, floor to ceiling. Each frame held a different face. Braxton, Willow, Sutton herself. Over and over, each painted expression twisted slightly, some smiling, some screaming. The nearest portrait blinked. Elowen's stomach dropped. The eyes in the painting followed her as she moved, and when she backed toward the door, every mouth in the room began to open, slow and deliberate. A sound rose from them, low at first, then building into a roar. Words buried in the noise, layered and endless. "Don't leave, don't leave, don't leave." She slammed her hands against the door. It didn't move. Her reflection in the brass handles blinked a moment late, mouth moving out of sync. Elowen screamed at it. "What do you want?" The reflection smiled faintly. To remember. Then it reached out from inside the metal and gripped her wrists. She yanked free, skin burning where it touched her. The reflection didn't fade. It kept staring back, lips forming words without sound. Elowen mouthed them along until she understood. "You never left." The floor lurched, the foyer twisted, stretching into the long corridor again. The clock struck once, always 3:01. Willow's voice echoed faintly behind her, calm now. "You should rest, Doctor." Elowen turned. Willow stood at the top of the stairs, smiling gently. Behind her, Sutton and Braxton waited, whole again, their faces serene. The sight stole her breath. "I can't." Willow reached a hand toward her. "You already did." The house inhaled. Darkness swallowed the edges of her vision. When she opened her eyes, she was standing outside the manor gates, rain falling sideways, a car idling beside her, headlights slicing through the fog. 3 passengers sat inside, waiting. Willow leaned out the window. "Dr. Price, you coming?" Elowen stared at the house on the hill, its windows glowing faintly, heartbeat steady. She whispered, "Not again," and stepped forward. Rain hissed on the windshield like static. Elowen sat in the driver's seat, hands resting on the wheel, but she didn't start the engine. Willow, Braxton, and Sutton chatted softly behind her, their voices warm, familiar, as if nothing had happened. The manor waited at the top of the hill. Its windows flickered with a faint, wet light. The fog made it look as though it were floating on the sea. Elowen tried to swallow, but her throat was dry. Every cell in her body screamed at her to turn around. "Doctor?" Willow's voice was gentle, expectant. "We're ready." Elowen looked into the rearview mirror. 3 faces stared back, smiling, too still. Their eyes caught the dim dashboard glow like a cat's. Her pulse kicked once, hard. A memory slammed into her, the hallway, the blood, her own reflection whispering, "You're already dead." She jerked her head away. "I can't do this again." Braxton's voice came from the back seat, soft and low. "You already are." She blinked, and she was outside the car, rain soaking her coat, feet on the gravel drive. The gate groaned open by itself. Fog bled across the ground, curling around her ankles like fingers. Upstairs, a candle flared to life in a window. Her window. Elowen's breath shuddered out. She knew what came next. The staircase, the mirror, the thing with the smile. Still, she climbed. The door creaked shut behind her with that familiar final click. In the grand hall, the clock stood frozen at 3:01. On the wall beside it hung a new portrait, her own face, eyes half closed, painted in tones of ash and blood. Willow's voice drifted from the staircase. "Welcome back." Braxton and Sutton stood with her, serene now, like greeters at a wake. Elowen's hands trembled. "Please, let me go." Willow's smile was tender, almost sad. "We're not keeping you. The house is." Behind them, the walls exhaled a long, slow breath. The candles went out one by one. Darkness swallowed the hall. Only Elowen's breathing and the heartbeat of the house remained. She turned toward the door, but it wasn't there. Only a mirror, tall, gilt-framed, fogged from the inside. Her reflection stared back at her, lips moving in perfect sync now. Not again. She raised a hand. Her reflection raised a hand. But when she touched the glass, it was warm and soft. It pulled her in like water. The last thing she felt was the house's breath rushing into her lungs, wet, cold, endless. Outside, the rain stopped. A car engine hummed at the gate. A new driver gripped the wheel, eyes wide, 3 passengers waiting quietly in the back. At the top of the hill, Shudder Manor's windows glowed faintly, heartbeat steady. The cycle began again.